Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyhi wa Mustafah, Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'd. All praise due to Allah alone, we praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. May the best peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Dear viewers everywhere, welcome to a new edition, a brand new edition of Ask Huda. Before we start taking your live phone calls and questions, let me remind you with the phone number. That's area code 0020238555248 or 249, and also tackle a couple of questions pending from the week before the last, since we're gone for a week. The first question is from Kamran from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He was asking about, sometimes at work, when we're dealing with people in general, it is easy to fall into the trap of backbiting. Can you give some advice on how to handle these situations? First of all, I would like to remind myself and the viewers that these sins, which many people might view as minors, they are major and great because they wipe out our hasanat and good deeds. So sometimes we end up bankrupt. As the Prophet ﷺ said once, أَتَدْرُونَ مَنِ الْمُفْلِسِ, do you know who is the real bankrupt? Simply by giving people out of our good deeds, by slandering them or backbiting them. Once in a sound hadith, the Prophet ﷺ gave a very comprehensive advice to Mu'adh ibn Jabal, may Allah be pleased with him, when he said, أَلَا أَدُلُّكَ عَلَى مِلَاكِ ذَلِكَ كُلِّهِ, shall I not guide you to the controller of all of those religious affairs? He said, certainly, Ya Rasulullah. The Prophet ﷺ took hold of his own tongue and he said, كُفَّ عَلَيْكَ هَذَا, control this muscle, your tongue. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal, may Allah be pleased with him, said, Ya Rasulullah, أَمُحَاسَبُونَ نَحْنُ بِمَا نَقُولُ, will we be held accountable for what we say? As many of us say, I was just joking, I did not really mean it. It's sayings, not actions. So the Prophet ﷺ said, وَهَلْ يَكُبُّ النَّاسَ فِي النَّارِ عَلَى وُجُوهِهِمْ إِلَّا حَصَائِدُ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. The thing which topple people most in fire on their faces is the harvest of what they say. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of that, ordered us in Surah Al-Hujurat by saying, وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا. And he resembled backbiting to eating or devouring the flesh of your brother. You would hate it. Nobody would ever like to eat the flesh of another human being, let alone your own brother. So this is a sin that the Prophet ﷺ warned us against. The Quran emphasized that it is major, it is prohibited, and one should avoid it. The question now is, how? By remembering that if I do backbiting or slandering or address somebody in his or her absence with what they dislike, that will take away from my good deeds and will cast upon me sins. So if one would desire to do somebody a favor, then backbite him. Imam al-Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on him, heard that somebody was always slandering him, backbiting him. So one day he took a basket of fruit and he went to visit him. When he knocked on his door, he said, who's this? He said, Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i. When this guy, who was one of the biggest opponents to Imam al-Shafi'i, as always in every time you'll find the scholars and the righteous people have opponents, he said, what brought you here? He said, I heard that you've been giving me lots and lots of your hasanat. I could not find anything to reward you enough, so I brought you those fruits. So the guy was very ashamed of himself, and he knew that he have lost mountains of his good deeds. Please, do not lose your good deeds simply because of chit-chatting or wasting time on the phone or talking about somebody in his or her absence. There is another way that the shaitan deceives the people in their dialogues or talking about the third person by saying that I did not say any bad about him that's not in him. The Prophet ﷺ once asked, do you know what's backbiting, what's al-ghiba? He said, ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ is to talk about your brother and obviously of your sister in a way that they dislike. So they said, O Messenger of Allah, أَرَأَيْتَ إِنْ كَانَ ذَلِكَ فِيهِ what if that person already has this evil trait or the bad thing which we're talking about it? The Prophet ﷺ said, this is the actual backbiting. But if it is not in him, then فَقَدْ بَهَتَّ this is even worse, that is much greater sin. That's a false allegation, which is known as buhtan. The way out, you control your tongue, you zip off your mouth. And many of the companions used to put sometimes a stone in their mouth in order to control their talking. They would not talk but except if it is dhikr, remembrance of Allah, or something that is really important. For those who have been involved in such evil deeds, the ransom is to ask Allah for forgiveness for those whom you have backbited. And you pray for them, hoping that that will be a mean of kafara and a ransom for your sin. Some of the scholars said, this is similar to any crime that you commit. You're required to go to the person whom you backbited and you ask him to pardon you and so on. I believe, and Allah knows best, that sometimes can create and generate more hatred than if you just do not discuss it with him and try to fix your error by, for instance, in a similar gathering, if people are talking bad about him, you defend him or her. You speak good about them in their absence. You bring up and you show their merits and virtues. And also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you and those whom you have backbited or slandered, hoping that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us all our sins. The first phone call of today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Aisha from Bahrain, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Actually, I have some problems. Since last 4 or 5 months, I'm getting these thoughts, repeated thoughts, I don't have iman, like this. But it hurts me, but I don't to get back. I pray tahajjud, and I try, I'm getting this, I try to read Quran more, and I try to read the azkar, everything. Alhamdulillah, I try to spend time with my children, but it has gone then. Then again, I get I have weak, my iman is weak, like this. If something good is happening with me, I'm not happy. Why? Then it's bothering me. But I try. After this, I've tried to join tajweed classes. I try to learn the surah with translations. I want to get well with these Quranic things, but it bothers me, and I'm not in sukoon, and I cannot sleep. I cry.
So you do
a lot in my prayers. I say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I try my best to do, but I feel like I'm a very bad person. Then I say, I'm sorry, what I did, I don't know.
Okay, Sister Aisha,
I'm just
you're saying that Alhamdulillah you're doing your fard on time, and you're doing even voluntary ibadat, you pray at night and you read the Quran and you join the tajweed class. Am I right?
Whatever is there, Alhamdulillah, I read the hadith, I listen, I watch YouTube program regularly, and I try.
Sister Aisha, most importantly, you offer your prayer on time. Am I right? Is this what you said?
Yes.
Okay. And when you attend the Quranic sessions and all of that, you feel something. That thing, is it that you feel dissatisfied, worried and afraid, or you feel that you're not comfortable, you do not have that peace of mind which you're looking for? Which one of the two feelings that you have? Okay.
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Okay, Sister Aisha.
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel that you're not doing enough and this is what's disturbing you, or you do not feel happy at all with your entire life?
Yes, I do not. I'm not satisfied, and I feel something is wrong with me. I don't know. I said, why am I doing this? I questioned myself. Then I said, I think this is from shaitan. Then I said, why not from shaitan? Because
Okay.
then I moved my mind from the Quran. Okay, that's done. Stop thinking about this, and I try to do this. I don't know what's wrong with me, and I'm not comfortable. I couldn't sleep. I don't know.
Okay. Jazakumullahu khairan. Okay. Sister Juwayriya from the United Kingdom. Assalamu alaikum. Juwayriya, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother.
How are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. And you, brother, inshallah?
Go ahead.
I'm asking, I got married about 15 years ago, and my father gave me some gold for the marriage, which was pure from halal income. And I got married to my husband, and his income was not halal. And I mixed my husband's income and my father's income together. So now I've realized, I don't know now whether to give all, because I realized it's not the right income. So now I want to give away the wrong income, but I've mixed it up, so I don't know what to do.
Well, initially, if you know how much is your position, it's no big deal. You can also isolate it and get rid of the other. But most importantly, is your husband still earning haram earning, or he repented?
Trying to come out from the wrong earning.
I'm sorry?
He's coming out slowly from the wrong earning.
Oh, okay, he's coming out. Okay.
He's coming out.
Okay. So again, your position, which is from halal and was given to you by your dad as a gift, whether in the form of gold, jewelry, or any other means, if you know how much is it, you can isolate it, and this is yours. It's 100% halal. If the other earning, husband's earning, was mixed halal and haram, then it is his duty to find out approximately how much is haram and try to take this out and give it away, give it in a charity in order to purify his wealth along with the tawbah and repentance. And I hope that he's taken some serious measures and steps in order to pull out of haram as fast as possible, not gradually and slowly, because life is short and we don't really know in what condition we will die. So we would like to die and meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the state of Iman. Barakallahu fiki, Sister Juwayriya. Inshallah, I will answer Sister Aisha's question and try to give her some comfort, inshallah Azza Jal, as we get to her question. Now, Amin from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was asking, is it required for women when making wudu to wipe over their hair from front to the back, then back to front? It seems hard for women who have braids or long hair. We say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in verse number 6 of Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. The order of making wudu, washing the face and the hands, and then wiping over the heads. Based on that command, وَامْسَحُوا, then what's required is wiping, not washing. But the ba, which is بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, some of the scholars understood it as with some, and some interpret it as the entire head. And that's why we find some madhahib say it will be sufficient to wipe over 1/4 of the head, that would be sufficient, or a part of it, or a few hairs. While we have the action of the Prophet ﷺ is the best means of explaining the meaning of the ayah. That the companions narrated that the Prophet ﷺ used to wipe over his entire head. And the method is as follows. So wiping over the entire head is a must. The head means the head, and I'm not talking about the braids or somebody grew a long hair. You don't have to go all the way to the hair, but the head. Abdullah ibn Zayd narrated, and the hadith is collected by Imam al-Bukhari or Muslim, that you've seen the Prophet ﷺ making wudu as follows. He would wipe with his hands over his head, front to back, then back to front, back and forth. Just once to the back, to the rear of his head, then once to the front by both of his hands. So this is how one should wipe over his head. What about the braids? That is explained in another hadith by Salama, may Allah be pleased with her. The hadith is collected by Ashab al-Sunan, and Imam Muslim has this text. She said, Ya Rasulullah, sometimes I do my hair in braids. Do I have to undo the braids in order to perform ghusl? And ghusl is a bigger tahara than just al-wudu, where the person will be required to wash the entire body from head to toe. He said, no, you don't have to undo the braids. It will be sufficient to take 3 hathayat, 3 handful of water, and pour them over your head, so that the water would reach the roots of the hair. Same thing in the case of the wudu. By wetting your hands and going back and forth once, and you don't worry about the braids, you don't have to undo them. If you have a long hair, you don't have to go all the way to the end of the length of the hair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the deen very easy, but we just need to understand how to fulfill what Allah commanded in the proper way, and we'll find it very, very affordable. Another phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Joshua from Qatar. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh.
Did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, I would like to ask you 2 questions. One is personal and one is relating Sufism.
Okay.
The first question I would like to ask is, see, I have converted to Islam about 10 to 15 years ago.
Alhamdulillah.
But I have not publicly proclaimed about Islam. So my parents are under the impression I'm still a Christian. And I have not told them because, of many family problems. My father drinks and he beats up my mother, etc., etc. So for this reason, just for the sake of my mother and peace in the family, I have not told about my conversion, although they do have some doubt. Now, I'm wondering if I die in this state as a Muslim believer, but in a Christian community, and I get buried as a Christian in a Christian church, what will be my situation in the grave? Will I be punished for not getting a Muslim burial?
Okay, thank you, Joshua. I will, inshallah, definitely answer you in this episode. And may Allah keep you steadfast. Okay. Also, Amin from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia asked about the 4 sacred months and whether there are good deeds besides fasting that a person can perform. First of all, the 4 months, the 4 sacred months, were mentioned in the Quran, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, منها أربعة حرم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. The 12 months, the 12 lunar months, out of them there are 4 sacred months. And sacred means are great. That good deeds, the reward for them will be multiplied. And similarly, committing sins, the punishment for them will be doubled. So whether on an individual basis or a community level, such as attacking other people and so on, during the sacred months. فَلَا تَظْلِمُوا فِيهِنَّ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Do not wrong yourselves within these 4 months. As far as fasting, there is a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, صُمْ مِنَ الْحُرُمِ وَاتْرُكْ. Even though Al-Albani, may Allah have mercy on him, judged this hadith as weak, we find that Al-Jumhur, the vast majority of the scholars, said it is recommended to fast, voluntary fasting during the sacred months, the 4 sacred months. But with regards to the month of Muharram by itself, it is highly recommended in certain hadith to fast as much as you can. So overall, fasting according to Al-Jumhur is recommended as voluntary fasting during the sacred months. And any good deed, we expect that the reward for it to be doubled and multiplied. Any good deed, just our regular reading of the Quran or performing Umrah. But here is a very important catch, which is, I'm not allowed to specify and say that we should do Umrah on the 27th of Rajab, or fast on that particular day, or the 15th of Sha'ban, or. As long as we don't have a direct reference, a sound one, which says that it is recommended to do this, such as the hadith pertaining the 10th of Muharram, al-Ashura, or the day of Arafah, fasting on the day you will wipe and expiate the sins of the past year and the year to come. These are sound hadith. So voluntary and ta'at and good deeds are recommended during these 4 months, and it is highly emphasized that we should avoid all kind of sins as much as we can during these 4 months more than any other time in order to avoid the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His punishment. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Faiza from Kuwait, but before Faiza I would like to take another phone call. Assalamu alaikum. Abdullah from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for your seminar here. Alhamdulillah, it was very good. I just like to ask one more thing regarding the question you answered before. For the wudu, the wiping over the scarf for the women, especially while we are traveling and we are making wudu outside, can we make it wipe over the scarf? Will it be allowed?
Okay, you're talking about wiping over the scarf too. Okay. It seems like, wajazakum. If you just waited for 20 seconds, perhaps your question would have been asked by Faiza from Kuwait. When we make wudu and wipe over the shoes and socks, then take them off, can you pray? Is the wudu still valid? And I would add to that, this segment which you say that similar to or by analogy to wiping over the socks, will it be sufficient to wipe over the scarf for women? Yes, it will be permissible to wipe over the scarf for women if you are in a public area or if it is too much of a hassle for you to undo your hijab. But that doesn't apply to the arms. You gotta find a secure place where you'll be able to fold your sleeves and wash the arms up to the elbows, as we understand, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in verse number 6 of Surah Al-Ma'idah. And if a woman or a man happen to have wudu or be in a state of tahara and put on their socks or shoes or leather socks, as long as it is something that covers the skin and it does not show the color of the skin, or otherwise it is not, we cannot call them socks. So whether it's thin or thick, as long as it is opaque and it does not show the color of the skin, then it is the kind of socks which you may wipe over them. The Prophet ﷺ allowed his companions to wipe over the socks in case they put them in a state of tahara, wudu I mean, for a resident a day and night, 24 hours, and for a traveler for 72 hours, 3 days and 3 nights. The hadith is narrated by Imam Ali, may Allah be pleased with him. Here are some very important instructions with regards to wiping over the socks. When do we begin the 24 hours for a person who is resident and the 72 hours for a traveler? We begin from the moment not of putting the socks on, not of voiding my wudu, rather from the moment we make the first wudu and we wipe over the socks. So if somebody, for instance, performed wudu in the morning and kept his or her wudu for 6 hours, for 10 hours, for 12 hours, then they void the wudu. Then a couple hours later that they needed to pray, so they made wudu and they wiped over the socks. This is the time which we start counting the 24 hours. Does taking off the shoes or the socks which we wiped over nullify the wudu? Or in other words, what are the things which would nullify the masah? Similar to the wudu, passing gas, urinating, defecating, the things which we discuss in the case of the wudu, that will invalidate the masah as well. And some of the scholars said in addition to taking off the socks, yet the more right view, and Allah knows best, which is adopted by many of the scholars, that since the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not specify that, then taking off the socks or the shoes which you wiped over does not nullify your wudu. Similarly, if you exceeded or the period has expired, you passed 24 hours, but guess what? You still maintain your wudu, which you performed with the masah, then the wudu is still valid according to the more right view. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Another phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Samira from Norway. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Samira.
Hello, alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Wa alaikum salam. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just need to mute your TV set and raise your voice a little bit.
Okay, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Sir, I get married, and the man I get married to, we get some problem. I become pregnant, and he says not want to be pregnant, and he wants to make abortion. It's appointment to the doctor, and we go to the doctor. I change my mind that I don't make abortion, and he Salah. And Allah, Chef, I don't lose the baby, and I don't lose him.
Samira, can you please slow down? You said that you got married and you got pregnant and your husband wants you to go for abortion? Is this what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the reason? Why he wants to abort the baby?
Tell me the reason from his family. They have kind of kicked down. So maybe when the baby born, maybe he was born sick and this and that. And he tell me that I told you to take it. Yes, we was agreed to take medicine, so I'm not coming pregnant. But I made a big mistake with him, and I became pregnant. I did not take the medicine. So he tell me.
Okay, I got it, Samira. I got it. I got your question. Thank you. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Samira. We have Sister Knight from Knight from Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, wa alaikum assalam.
You're calling from Pakistan. Go ahead.
It is that the person who is praying is closest to the God when he is in sujood.
Correct.
In the sajda. And I want to ask that can we ask Allah Ta'ala for anything during that? Can we
in
can
your
we
language?
make dua?
Yeah, in your language, right?
Can we make dua during our sajda?
Okay. I got your question.
In the first or in the sunnah prayer?
I got your question. Thank you so much. Okay, dear viewers, we'll take a short break and inshallah we'll resume in a couple of minutes, so stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The philosophy of Islamic law, a program for restoring belief and trust within Muslims' mind and heart, and for re-establishing a true concept about Islamic rules for others.
Amazing stories. In this program, we get to know about people of the past whose stories were mentioned in the Islamic tradition and related by the Prophet, peace be upon him.
That verily us, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we tell you about the best of the stories. We tell you about the best of the stories. When we narrate a story, when we read a story, when we try to benefit from a story, what we are trying to do in reality is to go back through the steps, through the different parts and sections of this story until the story is actually completed, and that we can take the actual benefit directly from the story.
Sheikh Lutfi will narrate these stories in his program Amazing Stories.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered one of the lands to come closer, the destination. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered one whole city to come closer, to move closer to this dead person.
Be proactive. Dr. Haitham Al-Haddad teaches us how to take a conscious control over our life, set our goals and work to achieve them in Islam. Take firm steps towards your future. Be positive and be proactive.
Every single Muslim needs to have in order to be an effective person.
So proactivity in Islam, how to serve our religion and how to serve our life and our guides through all of this.
The proactive person is always motivated. The proactive person always have high ambition. The proactive person, he will not lose his time. He will not waste his time. The proactive person is a generous person.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We have, mashallah, many questions that we would like to tackle before the end of the episode. I would like to begin by Aisha's question from Bahrain. It's very important and serious, that she's experiencing some psychological conditions, that she feels not happy, even though she prays, she fasts, and she prays at night, tahajjud, and she attends the halqas of the Quran. Sister Aisha, in normal conditions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُمْ بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. Those who believe and their hearts find comfort in the remembrance of Allah. Indeed, verily, hearts do find comfort and peace of mind in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ كان إذا حزبه شيء فزع إلى الصلاة. If anything would worry Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he would rush to pray. If it is not farther prayer, then nafil prayer, and so on. When one prostrates himself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he discharges himself and his mind from all the pain, from all the worries and afflictions, and he is in a state of peace of mind. He's in a state of full comfort. This is what the prayer normally provides a person with. Similarly, dhikr. When some people complain to the Prophet ﷺ, he advised them about similar conditions. He advised them with adhkar and dua, particular adhkar to be recited in the morning right after Fajr, and in the evening after Asr until sunset. Such as the very famous dua of Abu Umama, when the Prophet ﷺ ordered him to say every morning and every evening, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan, wa a'udhu bika min al-ajiz wal-kasal, wa a'udhu bika min al-jubni wal-bukhl, wa a'udhu bika min ghalabat al-dayni wa qahri al-rijal. And also the beautiful dua of Allahumma inni abduka wa binu abdika wa binu amatika, nasiyati biyadik, madin fiya hukmuk, adalun fiya qada'uk, أسألك اللهم بكل اسم هو لك سميت به نفسك أن تجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلبي ونور صدري وجلاء همي وحزني. Whatever problem you're suffering from, if you constantly say these two du'as, Allah will give you a relief from these problems, insha'Allah Azza Jal. If not, then there is no shame nor problem whatsoever to visit a psychiatrist. I understand that according to our cultural traditions, whether the Arabic culture or the Indo-Pak, that the word psychiatrist, right away, one would think that I'm not insane, I'm not out of my mind, but sometimes a healthy and a physically fit person and a sane person, they go through certain conditions or trials. They need to visit a physician, a psychiatrist, in order to get some medication. Lest they may get sucked in a state of depression. You don't want to have this. If what you're having is something that comes and goes by because simply you keep blaming yourself that you're not doing enough. If this is the case, and that's why I asked you whether you feel that you're not doing enough and dissatisfied, or you feel depressed and unhappy, because there is a big difference. Feeling that you're not doing enough, this is very healthy. And this is an indication that you are a good person and a strong believer. And that was the complaint of many of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You remember we discussed before Hanzala, when he met with Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with both of them. And Hanzala said, Ya Abu Bakr, nafaqa Hanzala, I feel myself a hypocrite. He said, why? So his condition was even much worse than yours. He said that you're doing this and this and that and you're not satisfied. He said that I feel that I'm being munafiq. He said, how? He said, whenever we're sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, he's teaching us about Al-Jannah and An-Nar, it feels like we could visualize them. We're really willing to do anything that Allah or His Messenger ﷺ will command us with. Yet once we leave and I go home or I get involved in my business, we tend to forget and we get busy with our daily activities. Guess what? Their daily activities were halal too, but he thought life is all about ibadah. So Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu arda said to Hanzala, well, if this is the case, then me too. I have the same problem. They went to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, whereupon he explained to them. He said that if you guys maintain the same condition as you're sitting with me, the same level of iman, then you will be simply as good, as pure as angels. And angels would come down from heaven to shake hands with you while you're walking in the streets and reclining in your beds. But we're human beings. One time, a part of our time, we offer the ibadat, which have been prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some other time, we take care of our worldly, lawful business. Our worldly, lawful business. Playing with your kids, having fun, going for a picnic, doing some barbecue, racing with your husband. Some people think that religion is all about prayers and fasting and that's it. And that's why, unfortunately, we send the wrong message and the wrong signals to Muslims who are not practicing Islam. And to non-Muslims, they think that if you ever become Muslim or religiously committed, it will feel like you are in prison. No. I swear to Allah, wallahi, wallahi, by Allah in whose hand is my soul, the maximum freedom and joy and delight is in being religiously committed. But you need to learn how. You need to learn how to enjoy your life by praying on time, by taking your kids out for a picnic, by throwing a party, halal party, or a sleepover, having fun, competitions. I really enjoy it every time I read or I hear that the Prophet ﷺ raised against his wife, Aisha, not once, several times. And in the first time, she was young, she was light and slim, so she beat him. Then a few years later, the Prophet ﷺ, and guess what? They were returning from a campaign, from the battlefield. Do we have time to think about that? Yes. Have lawful fun. حتى يعلموا أن في ديننا فسحة. I made sure when we were living in the States that the community, every week, that we must have fun. And we go outdoor camping or fishing or hunting or whatever, halal, and enjoy all of that. We go fishing while we're listening to the Quran, we're listening to the adhkar, learning something new. Take our kids, enjoy the deen and the halal dunya. So if you can change your lifestyle a little bit and expect from Allah what's best, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the sacred hadith, أَنَا عِنْدَ ظَنِّ عَبِدِي بِي, I'm exactly as my servant thinks of me and expects from me. You think that He's merciful, you will get that mercy, inshaAllah Azza Jal. You think that He's generous and you expect from Him mercy and forgiveness and generosity, this is what you will get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If all of that is not working still, making the adhkar is not helping, and reading the Quran with pondering its meaning is not helping, then take my advice and visit a Muslim psychiatrist. It is highly recommended, and I don't have a problem with that, and Islam actually encourages people to seek remedy. Wallahu a'lam. And do not forget, the best mean of seek a remedy is from Allah. Ibrahim a.s. said, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ. And if I ever get ill, He is the one who gives me the remedy and the cure. He is the one who cures me. So you can always ask Him via dua. Allahumma shfini wa afini. Ask Him to give you the peace of mind and the comfort for your eyes. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. And so on. And I would not forget, of course, to pray for you. May Allah give you comfort, peace of mind, and happiness in your life and in the hereafter, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Another phone call. Sister Khadija from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum, Khadija. Okay, we lost that phone call. Idris from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum. That's the first call from Nigeria today. What's happening?
Alaikum assalam.
How are you, Idris?
I'm fine.
Could you do me a favor?
Hello?
Mute your TV set, please.
Hello, my name is Idris. I'm calling from Nigeria.
Idris, can you mute your TV set completely, please? Okay, that's not going to work.
I
Okay,
just want to ask you a question.
please go ahead. I'm sorry, I cannot really waste the time of the program telling everybody you need to lower the volume on your TV set or mute it, because time is very, very precious, and time counts, and it costs a lot of money. So we would like to spend the time either taking questions or answering questions. I'm sorry, Idris, to miss your phone call. Okay, we have a question from Faiza from Kuwait. She said, a painting of a person or a portrait that does not look like a real person, is this allowed? Well, as long as you do not give the shape or the figure of a human being or a living creature such as an animal or fish, etc., it is permissible. But why do we have to get into the area? Isn't enough beautiful nature around us? Mountains, snow, trees, sunset, sunrise, the moon, the stars, the different galaxies. I mean, you can always enjoy different portraits. Why do we tend to find a way to skip the haram or cut corners or say, well, it doesn't look like a human being? Even though I said yes, as long as it does not look like a living creature, it is okay. But why? I guess in Dubai last week I was talking about the human nature of being inclined towards disobedience. So I said, had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade us from drinking milk, and had He made alcohol halal, and had everybody ordered his son to drink a glass of wine before going to sleep instead of milk, people would have detested wine, and they would not develop a taste for it. Same thing like our kids now, when you say, make sure you drink milk before you go to sleep, it's good for your bones, calcium, etc. No, I don't want to drink milk. But people with those who are addicted, they believe that they cannot live without drinking alcohol. Why? Simply because even though it's a miserable drink, but because it is prohibited. حفت الجنة حفت النار بالشهوات وحفت الجنة بالمكاره. This is how it is. Heaven is surrounded with hardship, with difficulties, with commands, with do's and do not do's, with prohibitions. While an-nar is surrounded with desires and whims. That you fulfill your desire and you disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you slide in. You don't want to do that. So you can always enjoy anything away out of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. Jazakumullahu khairan. Aisha from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And let me take this phone call before I answer her question. Assalamu alaikum. Mahruzu from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum. Mahruzu, make sure you mute your TV set. Okay. How are you?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam. What's your question?
Yes, sir. I have a question, sir.
Sure.
My question, sir, supposing I bought a car or a boat just for a hire and decided to give it out to a driver. So now we negotiate with him that every day he gives certain amount, a fixed amount. I don't know whether that is acceptable in Islam, or that to say that maybe he will bring 1,000 or 2,000 every day, irrespective of what he has gotten. Whether he will get double of that or triple, or maybe he will get less than that. But every day he will bring that fixed amount. Is that acceptable in Islam, or maybe we have to now, whatever he gets a day, then we will share a certain percentage. Which one is acceptable in Islam?
Okay.
That's my question.
Thank you, Mahruzu. Very precise, and mashallah, that he muted his TV set, so the question is very clear. Thank you. We have brother Joshua from Qatar. He said that he's been a Muslim for quite some time, several years, but he did not declare that to the public, and I believe that he means his family members or where he lives. But your friends, your companions, where you're living at in Qatar, they recognize that you're a Muslim, you pray in Jama'ah, you attend the Muslim activities, you practice your deen. You do not practice both religions. You do not attend the Sunday service and pray in a church like a Christian. Rather, if you are practicing Islam and you declare your Islam before Muslims, or at least two men, that is sufficient before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I understand your reasons with regards to concealing your iman before your family for family issues or reasons. It may be legitimate because you know best the condition of your family. But I may encourage you to give da'wah to your family. How do you give da'wah to your family and try to rescue your mother from the fire of hell and also your father if you do not tell them what's going on? Perhaps while still concealing your iman, you can approach them that you read that book, or you look into those people, or you live with them, and you will recognize that their nature is entirely different than what's portrayed in the media and the misconceptions about them and all of that. This is an indirect way of giving da'wah. But as far as a short cut to an answer to your question that are you a Muslim? Yes, you're a Muslim. What happens if you die and you will be buried in a non-Muslim graveyard? This is a dilemma, because it is not permissible for a Muslim to be buried in a non-Muslim graveyard. Muslims have to have their separate graveyard. Will you be affected by those who are being punished next to you? No, you will not. But where you will get the mercy and the dua and the greetings and the invocations of Muslims who are visiting the graveyard. You know that every time a Muslim is buried, whenever we go to the graveyard, whether for a burial or for mere regular visitation, we say, Assalamu alaikum ahl al-diyar. Assalamu alaikum ahl al-diyari min al-mu'minina wal-muslimin. نسأل الله لنا ولكم العافية وإنا إن شاء الله بكم لاحقون. So every Muslim who visits the graveyard makes dua for the dead Muslims. So where will you get this? So write in your bequest, in your wasiyah or will, that you are a Muslim and you would like to be buried and your body should be dealt with as a Muslim and be buried in a Muslim graveyard. This unfortunately have happened to some of our Muslim brothers, reverts in America. When they died and they did not write their wasiyah, their spouses had to bury them and treat them as non-Muslims, and they attended the funeral service in the church and all of that. You would be liable for that, and you don't want anything bad to happen to you in this life or in the hereafter. So gradually, it's been 15 years already, gradually try to introduce to them the deen. Or if you don't want and you know best about the conditions of your family, at least you have to have your wasiyah ready in case that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides for any of us to depart. That should be the way my body should be treated with. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Okay, in this last 1 minute and 13 seconds, I would like to tackle Knight's question from Pakistan. Her and her family next door were asking about the closest position the servant to Allah is in the state of sujood. This is a hadith. It's not just a statement. It is a hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, أكثر ما يكون العبد من ربه أقرب ما يكون العبد من ربه وهو ساجد. It is true. فأكثروا من الدعاء وأنتم سجود. So make lots of dua while you are in a state of sujood. Now, in another hadith, he said, أما الركوع فعظموا فيها الرب. In a state of ruku' you don't make dua, rather you glorify and magnify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by saying Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. And while in a state of sujood, فأكثروا فيه من الدعاء. Make a lot of dua in a state of sujood. That applies to the fard or to the nafl. Some people would say, when I say any dua, that even in your language, if you don't know Arabic, but if you're reciting supplications in the Quran, which were stated as verses, but meanwhile these supplications, the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam in Surah Ibrahim, رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. The dua of any prophet, the dua of Surah Al-Baqarah, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ, of Surah Al-Furqan, of Surah Al-Imran. when we recite them as means of invocation, that does not count as a recitation of the Quran. Why? Because it is prohibited to recite Quran in a state of ruku' and in a state of sujood. So there is no conflict here. When we recite it, I recite it with the intention of making dua. And that's why, if somebody is in a state of janaba, it is entirely prohibited for a male or a female in a state of janaba to recite the Quran. Particularly the man where the janaba can be left in simply by performing ghusl. But if somebody is reciting this verse as a mean of dua, he's not reciting the entire verse, rather he's making dua, so it includes some of the verses of the Quran. That is valid and does not count as reciting the Quran. Well, as I said, we drew near the end of our today's edition. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this humble effort from all of us and to teach us what we don't know and help us to act upon what we have learned. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.